Hello guys, I'm Medic and welcome to the video. Today we take a look at the O-Class Battlecruiser Barbarossa from Trumpeter in 1/350 scale. This kit is one of the latest 350 scale models from Trumpeter, which released on August 2022. Guess COVID made him creative, huh? It comes with 19 sprues, some big single model pieces and some rather extensive photo etch parts, which the model kit can be nicely rounded up with, such as ladders and railing, and make it all a really complete model right out of the box. All parts considered, this accounts for roughly 920-ish parts. Well, according to Trumpeter, not me. With this kit, Trumpeter brought us another what-if ship into scale, just like the other models like the German H-class battleship or the USS Montana. I'm more or less certain that Trumpeter drew inspiration from the Siegfried in World of Warships, because they look identical apart from some minor differences. Looking at the in-game model here, I don't have much doubt that it's the case. The Siegfried is a super heavy cruiser with 380mm guns, which is one of the reasons that I believe the guns of the model are also 380mm. That and because they pretty much look alike. The difference is that the in-game version of Siegfried has torpedo tubes, which we don't get, and has no raised deck where the catapult is sandwiched in. The Barbarossa may have never existed, but as a World of Warships player and as a modeler who mostly only builds warships in 1/350 scale, I'm really happy to see that Trumpeter brought us this what-if ship into scale to enrich our possibilities and the variety on our shelves. Let's take a peek inside of the assembly manual. If I bore you too much with this, feel free to skip forward. The front page shows us a side view of the complete model and the usual information before building. Page 2 and 3 are just an overview of all the parts for the building process. And let's hope that all parts are actually included. Unusual for Trumpeter is to show us the obvious first assembly step, that is, assembly of the hull and deck, instead of being on the last pages like most of other models from them, especially the ones with waterline options, my most feared enemy. Oddly enough, those side fins have to be glued in place. Sorry, I don't really know what they are called, even in German. I wonder why they weren't molded onto the hull, but there must be some reason, I guess. Finishing the hull with the propeller shafts, the props themselves, and 3 rudders. And we're done with page 6. On page 7, we move onto the deck to install some deck fittings and also the first PE parts. Page 8 and 9 are more deck fittings, with most notably the PE catapult. And here we have our beautiful big superstructure pieces. I hope there aren't too many gaps when glued together, because filling and sanding would be a pain with those details. On the next page, we already get into the PE wall, with ladders and railings. Next up is one of the funnels on the forward superstructure. Yeah, this reminds me a lot of Bismarck's construction. Here we finish the forward superstructure with all the small crafts and begin the assembly of the aft one. This hangar would invite to be let open and install some lights, like I did on my Bismarck. Also very interesting to notice is that the funnels get some tubes within them, with PE parts on top. We complete the main superstructure on page 19, thanks to the big molded pieces. Therefore, the superstructure is ready to put onto the deck. Ah, the main mast. I wonder how often I'm going to break this piece. Place your bets now. Here we have our main stars of the show, the guns. The 380s with some nice PE railings at the side and on top. And down below, the 105s and the 150s. The two cranes look very nice, as far as I can tell. Seems like they are the same as the ones on Admiral Hipper, but I could be wrong here. Down below, we get our presumably 283mm triple guns, with not much PE parts aside from the ladder. And that seems to be all the big pieces already. Just the ladders to go down to the waterline, and the railing around the deck. And of course, our float plates. There isn't much to say here. It's a paint guide. It shows a possibility how the ship might have looked like. What I appreciate is that Trumpeter shows you what color to use from the many different companies, like Mr. Hobby or Tamiya. The paint pattern for the Arado could be historically accurate. For the camouflage on the O-Class, it doesn't seem to be the same as the camouflage of Siegfried in World of Warships has. I would say though, they drew inspiration from other ships from the German Navy at the time. Speaking of inspiration, the reason why I say this is because the splinter-like camouflage looks very alike to the paint pattern of the Bismarck-class battleship Tirpitz. There are some differences, of course, like the turret tops, which are also in camouflage pattern instead of red like the O-Class ones. And guess what also looks very alike? The camouflage pattern of the H-class. Though here we have more noticeable color differences than the other twos have. The main color a whitish gray against dark black and blue camouflage. The float plane, the Arado, has the exact same color pattern on all three paint guides. And yeah, just thought it would be nice to show you this. Now, finally, we get to the parts. We begin with the hull and deck. Trumpeter has stepped up their molding game. The hull is now a single molded piece and not parted at the waterline anymore. The plastic feels very high quality. When you pick up the hull, it has some weight to it and is very sturdy. The walls are really thick as a result. We have some injection pin marks at the bottom, but these won't be a problem to sand down. The portholes have some nice depth to them, but I will drill them open anyway. We are missing the outer propeller shafts, so there might be some filling and sanding required. We have a little bit of a sharp edge at the stern here. and the main armor belt is well highlighted. Yeah, well done, Trumpeter. I like the quality improvement. The deck is also one big single piece, and also pretty thick. We've got some nice crisp details and well done deck plating. A welcome sight for those who paint the deck. Some splinter shields are already molded on, which are not too bulky thankfully. I have to say I really like those hatches in the deck. They are so well detailed. I don't know why they decided to raise the deck in the middle. It seems kinda odd. I wish they would have some textures on them, like panel lines or something like that. Again, really nice planking details, and also the hatches. I really like this. The details on deck aren't clunky or too thickly molded. Quick reminder, it's the O-Class. Yep, I really like the quality of the hull and deck. Well done. Okay, we've come to sprue E, which we have 3 times for 3 turrets. These, which I already mentioned, I believe are 380mm guns. The same ones as on the Bismarck or the Siegfried in World of Warships, which the ship is likely based off. I can't tell for sure, but I believe this is the same mold as for the Trumpeter's Bismarck and Tirpitz kits. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have the gun platform. The rangefinders have nicely molded armored doors in them. The gun barrels are really nice, but I will replace them anyway with brass ones. Gun breeches are included, which will probably compromise the gun elevation. The turret housing has nice rivet details, which could turn into a nightmare if you have to send anything there. Let's hope we don't have to. But all around, they look really nice and crisp. Here for comparison, a turret from Revel's Bismarck kit. It seems that the turret top of the O-Class kit is bigger than that of the Revel kit. Rivet-wise, they seem to be similar, though the Trumpeter one has more in some places. Crisp armored windows at the front of the turrets, unlike the Revel one. Yeah, the difference or evolution in molding technique over the years. On the D-sprue, we have the 283mm gun triple turrets. At first I thought this is to build the air gear version of World of Warships, which you can see here. But I quickly realized that the triple turrets look way different on the air gear here. The gun turrets are way too differently shaped to be the same. Also the middle portion of the ship is completely different. These turrets look more like those of the Scharnhorsts, which is even more reason to believe that these are 283mm guns. Even the turret on the Graf Spee look very alike. So yeah, so much to the gun theory. If you disagree or have your own theory, let me know in the comments. Thanks. So the 380s have those nice gun breeches, but the 280s don't have them. They will be just connected with a single rod to the turret base. They also have openings in the front, so that's nice. The turret housing has also nicely detailed rivets. These seem to be some pinholes for the ladder. Why so big though? We also have some nice rivets around the rangefinder mount, though hopefully I don't need to stand there. Up front, the armored windows are molded into the piece. So all in all, the triple turret is also a well-detailed option. I thought the triple turrets might be from Trumpeter's Graf Spee mold, but this seems also to be wrong. Here I have a Graf Spee turret from Trumpeter. And as you will see, they are also different from each other. Especially the rangefinder mounts. So this could be a new mold, with which they could maybe bless us with a Scharnhorst or a Gneisenau kit in the same scale. Maybe? Please? Anyway, these turrets are superbly molded, and there isn't really a reason to replace them with like 3D printed ones, like I did with my Richelieu build, because the kit turrets were atrocious. The 3D printed ones, however, turned into real beauties. The 3C sprues contain parts of the 150mm secondary guns. And here, same story as with the main gun turrets. Beautifully molded with nice crisp details. I mean, look at that turret face. Apart from that, we have what seems to be parts of the Vierlingsflak. Some tiny life rafts maybe? These seem to be the pipes for the funnels. Also some nice ammunition boxes. Some small caliber single mount anti-air guns. The 150mm barrels, which I will replace with brass ones. Parts of the searchlights. A motorboat. Nice details even on this deck. Alright, so much to the C sprues. We have two F sprues with parts of the 105mm secondary guns, or let's say I believe these are 105mm. Once again, nice details on the gun housing. I believe they are an evolution of the 105mm found on various other German warships. Here we've got one of the propellers, two rangefinders, and the crane, which looks really nice for a plastic one. Next we have the forward main superstructure. Again, Trumpeter stepped up the game here. In the past you would have to glue this whole part together from multiple pieces, and with less to none details compared to now. We have some anti-skid surface imitation on the deck here, which we'll see on other deck pieces as well. On the sides, we have some nice crisp details. Be it vents, hatches of any sizes, or the doors. The imitation of the cable or jackstay, I think they are called, aren't too chunky as well. The molded ladders are okayish, but I will replace them with PE anyway. Especially here, a photo etched ladder will definitely raise the looks of this part of the mold. The hangar doors are okay, also a good option to leave them open, with lots of space inside. These cradles for the smaller boats could be a bit thin in my mind. Same story with the aft superstructure, one big molded piece with lots of details. The top of the hangar is bare, but the deck with one of the secondary gun barbettes has again the anti-skid surface. That's what I like to see, some crisp details on the side. The fire hoses are especially lovely. The model certainly won't be boring to look at, that's for sure. Same story on the opposite side. And the wide open hangar, with again lots of space for possible ideas. I'm thinking of decking out the space. J-sprue, we have some smaller bits of superstructure, as well as one piece of a funnel. Offset funnel piece, we have nicely detailed vents and checkstay around it. The next piece houses one of the main gun barbets, also with nice crisp details on the walls, even with life rings and again with the anti-skid surface. Though the ladders still don't convince me. This piece seems to be part of the armored conning tower. You can see the armored door to the right and the obvious oval shape on top. This could be an aft superstructure, looking at its shape. Again, with nice hatches, vents and fire hoses. The K-sprue has 4 small superstructure pieces. The first one houses the main radar on top, I would guess. It resembles the same part like Bismarck or Tirpitz at least. This small part has only one door and one porthole per side, and 2 small hatches on the back. Or front, I don't know. This piece looks to be part of the forward superstructure, with anti-skid surface and properly mounting points for 2 anti-air guns and a searchlight up front. We also get some nice square windows. This part could be the main radar itself. I think it is the radar because it looks typical for the German Navy. A-sprue then. It contains the 3 hull/deck support struts, wave breakers, some deck fittings, the main mast, which can compare to one out of brass, but we will see. But prone to be broken by me for sure. Some wall pieces of the upper superstructure with nice cables or checkstay details. Probably the radar platform with anti-skid surface. Some various smaller parts. Parts of the funnel. And the funnel cap with anti-skid surface and mounting points for searchlights and anti-air guns. On one end, we have the armored conning tower, which again looks similar to the likes of Bismarck and Tirpitz, but with much more details to the Revell counterpart. The wave breaker is quite thick, compared to what a PE one could look like. A blank funnel cap, presumably a searchlight platform without anti-skid surface. Searchlight covers, sadly without texture, unlike the Revell kit. Part of the main mast and a nicely molded ammunition locker. Splinter shields. Part of the aft radar superstructure, probably houses a radar on top as well. More parts of the mast, and the side fins on the hull. Again, I don't know what they are called. Of the propellers, thankfully not too chunky, which is very welcome. The curved walls for the forward main superstructure. And the tips of the outer propeller shafts. The two G-sprues hold some more deck fittings. The 105mm guns. Parts of the small boats. This could be the base for the crane. I can't tell if that's supposed to be a hatch or whatever. The two float planes are, as usual, molded in clear plastic. The wings have some nice panel line details, while the rest is rather basic. But in this scale, it's not really much you can do better. The kit gives us options for the wings, 8 in the folded or spread position. The display stand from Trumpeter is one solid molded piece. And apart from that, there is not really much for me to say here. But speaking of display, I just now noticed that we don't have a nameplate for this model. Guess Trumpeter either forgot about it or didn't bother with it. The decals. We get two German Navy flags waving in the wind and two solid ones. We also get 4 decals of the forbidden insignia, as well as 8 smaller ones and 8 really tiny ones. 2 nameplate decals to place on the ship, and multiple Balkenkreuze for the float planes. The photo etch is rather extensive for a base kit. We got one untreated anchor chain, which I won't be using, you will see in a bit why, but you will have one for this kit right out of the box, which should be enough for the forward and aft anchors. On the photo etch sheet, we have one of the catapults, ladders, stairs and railing, cable drums, parts for the funnels, and various other things. All of that times 2. On the other sheet, we have all the railings for the whole ship. This makes a ship model complete in my book. On the opposite side, we have railing cut in smaller sections, as well as the radar array. So with this kit, Trumpeter allows us to make a fully decked out ship model right out of the box, which I really appreciate. We get all the railings, PE ladders and stairs, which replace the bulky plastic ones. There is no necessity to buy an aftermarket detail kit. And with that, we covered all the contents of the box. But there is one more thing I want to show you. This is a Woodendeck sticker with a dedicated masking sheet for painting and brass barrel kit from SciY Model, which I purchased on eBay for 18 euros plus shipping. In this little box we have brass barrels for all the caliber down to 105mm and some connecting rods to replace the plastic ones. The Woodendeck sticker is really thin compared to other manufacturers, and it also gets pre-cut masking sheet to cover the Woodendeck for painting. We also get an already blackened anchor chain, which I will be using. SciY Models has also a Woodendeck sticker and brass barrels for the O-Class battleship and much more. I will be using this when I build a model in the future. It's more or less a standard for me to have a Woodendeck and brass barrels for every model I build. And with that, we come to the end of the review. If you liked the video, please leave a comment and maybe give some advice of what I could have done better. I would really appreciate it. Vielen Dank and may I see you in my next video. Auf Wiedersehen!